Good morning, everyone. It is Barb Teckle. It is Monday, November 16th. We are halfway through the month of November already. And I can hardly believe we're almost winding down 2020. Wow, what a year it's been, right? So today I really want to talk about being an empath. And I have a feeling many of you that listen to my videos, watch my videos, are definitely empaths as well, and especially because I do the oracle readings with the animal cards. Empaths are often so in tune with animals and nature. So I just want to talk about that today because I want to share with you that last week I felt like I went through this really big new opening. Last week was extremely intense for me as far as the emotional state I was in. And yeah, I'll be honest, it was extremely painful. And there was at one point which I've questioned in my life before, but, wondering why I have to have such intense feelings. And especially when they're difficult, but at the same time, I have to remind myself, and you might be the same way, that when I'm really happy about something, I have very elated happiness feelings also. But last week was very intense. It was the most intense I felt for quite some time. And what it led me to was a good thing. And it led me to doing a little more research on being an empath, which led me to taking a self assessment test with Dr. Judy Orloff. I think I'm saying that right. And as I took that assessment test, there were 20 questions, and I answered yes to 17 of them. And according to her self assessment, that means I'm a full blown empath. Well, I sort of had a laugh at that, but at the same time, I was back in that space of, do I have to feel this so much? So that's what my reading is going to be about today, is looking at being an empath and the animals that are going to have a reading for us today. But I think many times as an empath, and I'm speaking personally, but I think you might be able to relate, is we fight it. We fight those intense feelings. When we have those feelings of joy, those feel really great. But then we fight the ones that are intense. And it's in those intense moments that there's a huge teaching for us. And there's huge growth in that for us as well. So that's why I'm really feeling called to do a reading on being an empath. And animals have always been my safe space. They've been my safe place to go to because let's face it, they're unconditional, they're non judgmental, they're not going to reject you. So, they are such a gift, especially for those that are, empaths. And there's a difference between being empathetic and an empath. You know, um, what was I going to say now? I forgot. I think we know what the difference is between the two. So, again, I know many of you that are listening probably can relate very much to being an empath. And, I'm just realizing more and more is like, how do I manage being an empath and how do I just be okay with being that? And I feel in this new, bigger space of understanding that is really who I am. I don't want to fight that anymore. That's who I am. So today I want to share a reading, and I am using, let me grab the box. Today I'm using the Spirit Animal Oracle deck by Colette, Baron-Reid. I love this deck. It's such a beautiful deck. And so you can go ahead and pick if you want card 1, 2, or 3. But I'm going to read this as a whole message as well. But whichever card you pick as 1, 2, or 3, that will be your personal animal guide when you think about your own life and being an empath as well. And I know I'm not alone, and I know there's many of us walking this earth who are empaths. And honestly, I really believe in my heart we need more empaths to help this world. So let's all be ourselves. Let's all truly be ourselves, right? All right. So, what do we need to know about being an empath and what animals are going to help guide us with that? So, if you pick card number one, this is the first card in the reading, which I loved pulling this card because this is my spirit animal that came to me. Oh, how long has it been now? It's been quite a few years. But Wolf Spirit. And the message on the card says, turn knowledge into wisdom. So when we think about being empaths, and just how I explained to you what I was going through last week and how it was very intense, and just going through a lot of different feelings and trying to, as an empath, we pick up on a lot of other people's feelings as well. And then we take that on, even though it may not be ours to take on, but that's what we do. Especially, like I said, I took that assessment and I was a full blown empath. And that's one of the things I have to learn to manage better. So when we think about turning knowledge into wisdom, that's exactly what it's about. And I thought about how, just as an example, how last week felt so intense for me, but it led me down this new path of understanding myself better. So I took that time that didn't feel well and thought, how can I feel better when I go through, times that don't feel good, to me. So again, turn knowledge into wisdom is what Wolf Spirit is saying. And, Wolf Spirit has been my guide, like I said, for quite a few years. And for me, Wolf is all about staying in touch with my heart because as an empath, when I'm going through something really intense, I want to shut down. I don't want to feel what I'm feeling. And Wolf always reminds me, to feel into all of that. And it is interesting, Wolf, and I also have a big love of dogs. And of course, that's related. Um, but again, Wolf is all about keeping my heart open because that's what makes me me. And so I just want to remind you of that as well. That being an empath, sometimes we want to protect our hearts because it hurts. It hurts, but there's nuggets of wisdom in that, and how we can, feel through those feelings and move to that next evolution in our journey. So, if you pick number one, it's Wolf Spirit. So number two, again, looking at ourselves as an empath, what is it we need to know? I love these three cards for this, working on this thought of being an empath. They're just so beautiful. So the next card, if you pick two, is Moth Spirit. And when I see moth, I think about, for some reason, I think about death, and not death in a bad way, but sometimes we have to die to what has been conditioned into us. I think as empaths too, we can be people pleasers. I know I can be. Um, and that's, a conditioning that we have to work on, and we have to learn to let that go and learn that we're important too. And taking care of our emotional mental state is important. And it is interesting that on this card for Moth Spirit, it says surrender now. And I know in my own life too, at those times when I have surrendered and let go instead of trying to control something, I have felt so much more peace. And when that happens, whatever my next step in life is supposed to be just flows to me. And I have to say that happened to me last week. After Wednesday was a very intense day for me. And on Thursday, I had this beautiful thing that unfolded that I can't share yet, but just had this beautiful experience that unfolded. And I remember just sitting in awe of that because, I'd surrendered and I just said, okay, what's next? And then something beautiful came from it. So when you let go in a way that's, a death, and then there's a rebirth, right? So Moth Spirit. So then number three, the third card, again, about managing ourselves as an empath, is Vulture Spirit. So if you pick number three, it is Vulture Spirit. I've picked Vulture, numerous times in my readings before, and I don't know if you remember, but I gained a new respect for Vulture when I visited a wildlife center a few years ago. And I just thought, they get such a bad rap and they're just such beautiful creatures because they do, they clean up, but we don't want to clean up, and we need them. We need them in the world. So the message on here is nothing is wasted. And I'm going to use my personal experience, of course, because that's, I hopefully by my sharing my personal experience, that will help you to apply it to whatever it is, those times you go through where you're really feeling things intensely. So when I think about being an empath and how sometimes we fight being that because our feelings can be, 100 times more intense sometimes if somebody isn't an empath. And it's sometimes really hard to explain that to people, that that's how we feel things. But when you think about Vulture Spirit and you think about those intense times, and if you allow yourself to feel through that and you allow yourself to surrender to it, that's all part of the process. So it's nothing is wasted within that, if that makes sense. It makes sense to me in my head, and I'm trying to explain it. Maybe it is making sense to you, but I'm trying to explain that we have to feel all of that and to know that that's all important of being who we are. That's what I want to say. Yeah. So, and when I think about how, many of us will fight to be an empath because the intense feelings. And I think about Vulture, and I think about Vulture being the creature that cleans things up. That's what we're being called to do is, to move through all of those feelings, and then clean up what needs to be cleaned up. And then take the knowledge that we've gained and turn that into wisdom, which it automatically does when you do that work. When you do the inner work, it just automatically turns into that. And then I do think surrendering is so important. And, I think about this year of 2020. Oh, so many moments I have fought things and then I just surrendered and then I came back to a more peaceful place. And as empaths, when we can come back to that more peaceful place, it is a much easier way for us to live, isn't it? So that is the reading for the week. I hope that helped. And I do want to mention I was out on a walk last week, and a neighbor a few blocks away had stopped me and had commented how she enjoys listening to the readings that I do each week. And she said, "Do you do personal readings? Private readings?" And I was kind of surprised. I said, "Oh, of course I do." So I just wanted to share that with you in case you aren't aware of that. Yes, I do one-to-one readings. So if there's a situation you're struggling with, I do, like I said, private readings for that. I also do readings for people and their animals. So if you're going through a challenge with an animal friend, we can do a reading around that as well. And I also offer a 10-minute consult, free consult. So if you're unsure, could a reading help or not, just reach out to me and let's set up 10 minutes to talk, and we can take it from there. So that is it for the week. I hope you have a great week. I feel like I'm going to have this amazing week. I know I'm going to have this amazing week this week because I'm doing 2 interviews and I'm really excited about them, talking about animals. So doesn't get any better than that for me. So have a great week, everyone, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.